We begin this morning with the deadly Hantavirus that started aboard a cruise ship and is now starting to cause international concern. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Vanessa Broussard. 3 people have died, with 8 confirmed or suspected cases linked to a Dutch cruise ship. The vessel, carrying nearly 150 passengers and crew, had been held near Cape Verde before heading towards Spain's Canary Islands for medical screening. The strain is rare and found mainly in South America. And unlike most hantaviruses, which spread through contact with infected rodents, this strain can spread between people through close contact. The CDC says Americans from at least Georgia, California, and Arizona are being monitored after possible exposure. But so far, those people are not showing symptoms, and the risk to the U.S. public is considered very low. So good news there. Symptoms to look out for. They can look like the flu at first: fever, fatigue, headache, muscle aches, nausea, but in severe cases, breathing complications. Doctors are already preparing people just in case. Many are once again turning to ivermectin. Dr. Marie Bowden says this: hantavirus is an RNA virus, and ivermectin should work against it. Ivermectin blocks RNA viruses from entering the nucleus, inhibits viral replication, disrupts integrity of the viral membrane, and can prevent viral replication. So right now, again, the CDC is saying the risk for Americans is low, but you should stock up on ivermectin just in case. Now to elections. A lot to talk about there today. This week's primaries in Indiana and Ohio delivered a major political message. President Donald Trump still holds enormous influence inside the Republican Party. And as we reported yesterday, Trump-backed challengers defeated multiple sitting Republican state senators who opposed his redistricting push. That was in Indiana. 5 incumbent Republicans lost to Trump-endorsed challengers. Meanwhile, in Ohio, Trump-endorsed candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, he won the Republican nomination for governor, setting up a high-profile showdown in November. Vivek won every single county in Ohio, and it wasn't even close. And this sets the tone for the MAGA movement. Those who go against Trump simply because they have TDS go to the unemployment line. Those who favor America first and want to make this country great, like President Trump does, they find themselves moving on to the next level. In the South is getting ready for November with redistricting plans. We talk about it all the time. The states looking to withdraw maps, they keep growing. Tennessee is the latest. Republicans there unveiling this new map ahead of midterms. Look at that, all red. The proposal would dismantle Tennessee's only Democratic-held congressional district, the majority-black Memphis 9th District, by splitting Shelby County and multiple Republican-leaning districts. This push, as you know, comes after the recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act, opening the door for several Republican-led seats to redraw maps. South Carolina is now doing the same. State GOP lawmakers there are discussing whether to redraw South Carolina's current 6 Republican to 1 Democrat map. The biggest focus is expected to be the Charleston area, 1st Congressional District, currently held by Congresswoman Nancy Mace, along with Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn's majority-black 6th District. And like Tennessee, South Carolina lawmakers have not officially approved a new map yet. They say they're right now opening the process to study possible changes. And further south in Mississippi, the biggest target there, Democrat Congressman Benny Thompson's majority-black 2nd Congressional District. Some Mississippi Republicans argue the current district was heavily shaped around race and should now be reconsidered. Governor Tate Reeves has called a special legislative session this month. And looking back at the 2020 election, a federal judge has now ruled that the Justice Department can keep the 2020 election ballots and materials seized by the FBI from Fulton County earlier this year. Do you remember that raid? It was a huge deal. A U.S. district judge has denied the county's request to have the ballots returned. The ballots were seized during a January FBI raid at a Fulton County election warehouse near Atlanta as part of a federal investigation into the 2020 election. The judge says the county has failed to prove the government acted with callous disregard for constitutional purposes, the legal standard required to force the return of the ballots. He also noted that the Justice Department has proved and provided Fulton County copies of the seized records, reducing claims of irreparable harm. So good news there in the fight for election integrity coming out of Fulton County this morning. Now to Minnesota and the latest saga surrounding our favorite trustworthy Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar. The Minnesota House Fraud Division Committee failed to subpoena her over the massive Feeding Our Future fraud investigation. So let me say that again. They voted to not subpoena her. In other words, they're turning a blind eye, something that's very common in the state. Minnesota Republicans push for the subpoena this week, arguing that Ilhan should provide documents and testimony related to the Federal Mills Act she sponsored during the pandemic. GOP lawmakers say that's where the alleged $250 million fraud scheme grew. But in Minnesota, they don't want to investigate or subpoena their friends to come in and provide documentation. Why would they want to do that? Watch it all unfold right here.
We have reached out to Representative Ilhan Omar on multiple occasions, inviting her to testify and inviting and requesting documents that appeared in the trial exhibit of the U.S. versus Amy Bach. Her office or her staff was named in multiple trial exhibits, and we have endeavored in multiple ways to get access to that because, as everyone knows, Representative Omar had some role, whether inadvertent or not. She passed the Meals Act in March of 2020, and that took the guardrails off the federal school nutrition program, which created the conditions for Feeding Our Future. And so we invited her to testify about the law she passed. We invited her to testify and talk about the documents that are listed in the court case, and she has never responded to our multiple inquiries. So then we sent a letter after the hearing 2 weeks ago saying that we would like her to respond with those court exhibits by today, May 5th. Once again, she has not responded in any way to our inquiries. And so the only tool left for us as a committee, if we want to get these documents, is to issue a subpoena. We have never done this, members, in the history of this committee. We have never done this in the history of this body except for ethics investigations, and I don't do it lightly. But Representative Omar is a public servant. She had a direct involvement in creating the conditions for Feeding Our Future, and as a representative of Minnesota, I believe it's important for the taxpayers to understand the role she played and understand the role her office played in communicating with the defendants in this case. So, under our rules, the committee is permitted by a 2/3 vote to request the issuance of a subpoena in the conduct of any investigation or activity or series of investigations or activities within the jurisdiction of the committee. Our nonpartisan staff has drafted the subpoena, which was in your packets. And with that, we would like to have a vote on subpoenaing Representative Omar for the documents in question as outlined in our letter dated April 22nd and is outlined in the subpoena which is before you. Is there any discussion on the order of business to issue a subpoena? Yes, Lead Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess maybe just a process question. I gather this is maybe a motion that you're making. It seems like I can see some nodding from some of the GOP members, but I just don't know procedurally what's, just first want to verify that.
Yes, so it's a motion for the committee to issue a subpoena to Representative Ilhan Omar regarding the items in the subpoena which are in your packet.
And then,
so it's referenced here.
And then, Madam Chair, I'll have just a few questions for you, I guess, as the make.
Chair Robbins.
Aye.
Vice Chair Anderson.
Aye.
Lead Pinto.
No.
Representative Altendorf.
Aye.
Representative Elkins.
No.
Representative Greenman,
No.
Representative Nash, Representative Schultz,
Aye.
The vote is 5 in favor, 3 against. The motion fails and the subpoena will not be issued. But I will continue to try to reach out to Representative Omar's.
Democrats on the panel said there's just not enough time left in the legislative session, and questioning the move was politically motivated. But first, we have all the time in the world. And second, politically motivated, her net worth went from millions to under 100,000. Her winery in California just vanished overnight. She represents the state where billions of dollars of fraud is being exposed. But in their minds, Ilhan is an angel. She has done nothing wrong. But expect more to come. We will not stop asking questions when it comes to Ilhan Omar. Now to the latest in Iran. A deal is getting close to end the conflict there in Iran with the United States. President Trump says he thinks it could end quickly, but warns that if military pressure escalates, they will take over Iran. And he says if talks collapse, they will make another move. Watch.
And I said, I hate to do this, but we have to make an excursion down to Iran because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. Look, and this is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon because as tough as they are, we want to keep them alive. We want to keep all of you alive. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't. And they've agreed to that, among other things. Yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens. Pete Hegseth says the fragile ceasefire is holding on for now, though clashes and threats continue around Gulf shipping routes. As for China, there's a hidden war on our homeland. The Chinese Communist Party tactics abroad are increasingly being mirrored inside the United States through intimidation campaigns targeting Americans. And today we have a story for you about SHEN, a film which focuses on the CCP's persecution right here on American soil. Threats being made against SHEN performers, as you see here, right here in the United States. The executive director of this film, Steve Lance, is here with us today. Steve, so good to see you and to talk to you about this. We don't hear we don't hear enough about China and its effects here on our homeland. And you're here today to talk about SHEN and his story. First, tell us about him and who he is.
Well, SHEN is a performing arts company based out of New York. It was founded back in around 2006 with a very unique and special mission, which was to restore traditional Chinese culture. If you've seen the SHEN billboards around the country or around the world, because it does travel around the world, except for inside of China, ironically, their tagline is China before communism. And so with that mission, they have been able to give a glimpse into China's history, much of which the communists have wanted to destroy through various campaigns like the Great Cultural Revolution, because China's history is really seeped in spirituality and a belief in the divine. And the CCP is dead set against any form of religion, because when you have a religious people, not only are they moral and they wouldn't be able to justify and get away with all of their crimes, but you also can't control people that are spiritual in a way that the communists need to maintain their control over the populace. And so SHEN has been able to give the Chinese people something that they haven't had in decades, which is a glimpse of what China was like in the past and what it could be like in the future.
Are the threats against SHEN performers in the U.S. part of a larger CCP playbook?
Unfortunately, through our film Unbroken, the untold story of SHEN, that is sort of what the conclusion that we have come to. And, you know, it's the way that the CCP operates with their spy networks, the United Front Work Department, which is an apparatus of the CCP that blends sort of covert influence and overt campaigns to basically unsettle the United States and allied interests. And what they've done through this and various other tools at their disposal is they have found a way to manipulate some of our most prized institutions, some of our most significant media outlets like the New York Times, sadly, has really, they've done 12 hit pieces on Shen Yun, and it has triggered multiple investigations into the group. All that we have found in our reporting go against the facts. And so this is actually not just about Shen Yun, which is a New York company, by the way. They're headquartered in New York City. But it raises the question if the Chinese Communist Party can use foreign nationals, because a lot of these people that the New York Times were reporting on and quoting previous disgruntled employees of Shen Yun are foreign nationals with direct ties, we found out, to Beijing. And so if they can do this to Shen Yun, they can do it to anybody. And it's a playbook that can really destroy people's reputation and defame them, much like we saw what happened to the president using our legal system prior to him winning this second time around.
You're right. And we have a trailer right now. We want to show the public Unbroken, the untold story of Shen Yun. We want to look at this trailer. It gives a glimpse of what the movie's about, what the film's about, and just how dangerous the CCP is. Take a look.
For athletes, dancers, everything you do has to be perfect.
Oh!
On our way to OZ. Boy. My guy goes, come on, get up. We gotta do this.
Like, bring it in more. People have called us the #1 show in the world.
Lovely job, guys. Thank you. I just hope I can continue this career for as long as I can, because I don't want anything else in the world.
But never would I have imagined what battle I joined.
Hey, buddy. You guys are okay?
There's like a huge team of people just combing the seats while we're on stage preparing for the show with dogs and stuff.
Specifically targeting Shen Yun performance.
No one wants to hear a bomb threat to the institution where your children are.
We had a sense of anticipation. We didn't know how it would go.
This is not a normal cut. This was done with the purpose of the tire exploding on the highway.
This is crazy.
These are open Chinese spy organizations.
They've gotten threats to shoot up the performance.
All the noise and all the distractions around you.
This is a machine that can be used against any American.
Why are they doing this?
How much more of this are we going to be able to take? We feel like we're at war.
This is not going to stop us. We can't let it stop us.
Sound check.
What can I do to tell people our side? This tour is our chance to do it.
Doesn't matter what the obstacles are.
We're doing this together.
Steve, why would the CCP target a dance company?
Well, if anybody has seen it, you'll know that it tells a story, as I mentioned, about what China was like before communism. But it also, through the performance, there's multiple vignettes, and some are Chinese legends, some are of Chinese history. But there's also one or two pieces that talk about the present China and some of the human rights abuses and the atrocities that are taking place inside of China. Some of your viewers may have heard of the issue of forced organ harvesting. You have to take a step back when you hear about this, because it's just something that's not really easy to absorb for people in Western and normal societies like we are here in the United States. But in China, they are harvesting organs. When I say they, the government. This is state-run by the PLA at scale, and they're doing this to prisoners of conscience, innocent people. It doesn't matter who it is. You shouldn't extract an organ unwillingly from anybody, but they're doing this. And one of the key targets is a spiritual discipline called Falun Dafa or Falun Gong. It's a meditation practice rooted in Buddhist tradition based on truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, those three core tenets. And it became extremely popular in China back in the 90s. And after finding out how many people were actually doing this meditation practice, roughly 100 million, the CCP condemned it and began to systematically persecute it, rounding up practitioners, sending them to labor camps, subjecting them to torture and murder. And then eventually they evolved into the practice of organ harvesting and taking their organs and selling them to elites inside of China. Also, sadly, elites from around the world will go there. And one of sort of the key features to this practice that kind of makes it obvious that they're doing it, there's a plethora of evidence, is that it only takes 2 weeks inside of China to get an organ. And so I'm giving you this sort of background so that you can understand Shen Yun, through tasteful art, is able to sort of get the word out about this. And, this issue, if the world, starts to understand that the Chinese Communist Party has been doing this over the past many decades. It started with the Falun Gong, and then it eventually, led to the Uyghurs. You've heard of the Uyghurs in Northwest China, in the concentration camps. It evolved into it happening to them. And so when the world's people actually find out about this practice, it really will pose an existential threat to the Chinese Communist Party's rule, because really, when this comes to the surface, there's no government that will be able to shake hands with Xi Jinping and take him seriously and want to do a business deal with him. And so that is why they are so afraid of Shen Yun.
When it comes to China's willingness to operate inside the United States, the intimidation tactics, what are you seeing? Maybe even away from Shen Yun. We're hearing a lot, Steve, about what's going on in Iran right now, but there's also a lot, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow on our broadcast too, with what's going on American soil that's not really getting a lot of coverage, and we really need to be careful of China's willingness to operate right here in our homeland.
To your point, right now, as we speak, this week, there's a trial going on in New York City exposing and trying a Chinese American directly connected and spying for China for opening up a Chinese police station in New York. This is a secret Chinese police station carrying out, transnational repression on our soil, intimidation tactics in the Chinese community, operating right here in the United States. And it's not just one. They have exposed and unearthed multiple. I believe there was one in Texas, in Houston, one in Nebraska, of all places. And so I think it speaks to a level of the CCP being emboldened to think that they can operate like this. And this is just, one example, the Chinese police stations, but the subversion and coercion tactics they use to influence every level of our society is really unprecedented. Their influence in Hollywood to subtly influence movies using leverage, because Hollywood wants access to 1.2 billion people, or however many people in China. And China knows this, and so they will use subtle tactics to make sure that there are not unfavorable things or things that might trigger the populace to think twice about the CCP in our movies. Wall Street is another great example. For the past however many decades, we have been head first as a country trying to invest in China. And we see it on K Street right here in Washington, where I am, where there's lobbying efforts. The CCP employs some of the biggest lobbying firms here in Capitol, right around Capitol Hill, to do their bidding to members of Congress. And so it's a full spectrum campaign that's targeting our society in every way, and it's very concerning.
It is concerning, and I'm glad you're here to help spread the awareness. What should Americans and policymakers be watching for next as these patterns escalate?
Well, I think that, like you said, awareness is the first step. And when you hear things, another institution that I didn't mention are our universities. The CCP has made their way into our universities, and so they've been able to subvert, in large part, a lot of faculty at our universities, American China scholars, So when you hear things like, "Oh, China's changed," the economy's good, and the CCP is not as bad as you think, and they might throw in Taiwan as part of China, you can rest assured that all of that is propaganda, and there are resources out there like your outlet, obviously covering this, as well as the one that we are at, the Epoch Times and NTD that cover this. So I would seek out these different resources and experts who really understand China, and a good inkling that somebody knows what they're doing and is giving you proper information is if they're actually not allowed in China. And what do I mean by that? The New York Times has a flourishing Beijing bureau. And in order to do that and to be able to stay there, you have to toe a certain line. On the other hand, the outlet that I work for is banned, and we wear that as a badge of honor, because anybody who's really reporting on the truth when it comes to China, you can rest assured the CCP is not going to allow you in there, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're here again to discuss this and to bring awareness to this. We hope that you stay in contact with us as we continue to follow China and the CCP right here in our homeland. Shen Yun has a website I want people to go to. They can find out more at shenyun.com. It talks about their performances, their story, their background. But for the film Unbroken, the untold story of Shen Yun, how can people watch that in its entirety?
Thank you so much for that, Vanessa. So yeah, unbrokenshenyun.com is the website. It is available right now for free for limited time. And it has two arcs. It has the human interest arc, which you saw in the trailer, tracking the dancers and really understanding their process, and then an investigative angle that really focuses on the New York Times and their editorial process. And I think your viewers would find it very interesting.
All right. Well, everyone go check that out. I definitely know that I will, because I just can't imagine a former dancer. So to hear that they take the stage and what's going through their minds as they're telling this story, and knowing that they're being watched like a hawk by the CCP while they're doing so. Can't even imagine. Steve, so good to have you on the show. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
And more to come here on My Mornings. We'll head back to DC today, where a MAHA summit is taking place. We'll check in with our Kara Castronova next. Stay with us.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources,
you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From LindellTV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LindellReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code Lindell10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code Lindell10 and get the medicine you need.
There's a MAHA summit taking place this week in Washington, D.C. The stories coming from real Americans are being told to experts in the MAHA movement. They're wanting change. Yesterday, we told you about the dangers of antidepressants, and today, another example of the dangers. Here's our Kara Castronova with more.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova here at the MAHA Summit for Mental Health and Over-Medicalization, and I'm here with Kim Witzak, who was the FDA consumer advocate? Yep. Consumer representative, and very sadly lost her husband to Zoloft. He was taking Zoloft, I believe, for 5 weeks, then very sadly committed suicide. So she's here to share her story.
Sure. Well, I like to call myself the accidental advocate because literally 23 years ago, my husband, happily married for 10 years, or almost 10 years, he had just started his dream job with a startup company and having trouble sleeping. He went to his general practitioner, his GP, who he loved, and they gave him a 3-week sample pack of Zoloft and said it would take the edge off and help him sleep. The first 3 weeks he was given the drug, I was out of the country. So I wasn't even home when he got the drug. When I got home, I'll never forget, he came home, fell into a fetal position, hands around his head. Kim, you got to help me. I don't know what's happening to me. My head's outside my body, bawling. So I'm like, calm down, calm down. We called the doctor, and the doctor said, you have to give it 4 to 6 weeks to kick in. Every night, he lasted 1 more week. I was out of town for business. I hadn't heard from him, and I called my dad and I said, would you do me a favor, go check on him? My dad goes over there and thinking he might have hit his head. Oh, no, I get a call, we're still out working. It's bad, it's bad. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, he's dead. I'm like, dead? What? How do you know he's dead? And he's like, he's hanging. And so that night when my life blew up and fell apart, the coroner asked a simple question. The coroner asked, was he on any medication? And the only medication what he was taking was Zoloft. And so she said, we're going to take it with us. It might have something to do with his death. Also, that same night that he was found, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune had an article that said the UK finds link between antidepressants and suicide in teens. And that was almost as if that was his note. He did not leave a note.
So he was on it for 5 weeks. It was prescribed because he needed to sleep better, and he died of suicide 5 weeks later. Was Zoloft, are you able to hold these pharmaceutical companies accountable? Like, can Zoloft be sued?
Yeah, so I did end up having a lawsuit, a failure to warn wrongful death lawsuit against Pfizer, where we were able to get out a bunch of documents out from under seal that these companies have known about the suicide risk. And because this wasn't discovery that was found in Woody's case, this was from decades earlier. And so when you start looking at the documents that the companies have had in there, you see that they've known about this, but they've hid it from the public, just like they've hid the withdrawal. And so if you actually look through the documents, you'll be astonished what's in black and white.
Are they public?
Yeah, I have them with me here. at my seat.
So what is the most astounding thing in the Zoloft documents?
Well, for me personally, there's one where they talk about the South African regulator wrote to Pfizer chief medical officer saying that they had doctors reporting patients on 50 milligrams, which is what Woody was on, where they were standing outside their bodies looking in, which is exactly what Woody said. So for me, that one is really personal. But then the other ones that I saw were the fact, like, they had a prosecutor manual that Pfizer helped to create a prosecutor manual on the Zoloft defense, and that was in the 90s. So I'm just saying, I'm a layperson who got thrown into this. Why does a drug company have, and why did they help create a prosecutor manual in the 90s?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So what happened with the lawsuit?
We were able to, it was resolved after we fought something called the federal preemption, because a lot of people don't know what was happening back in the mid-2000s. The FDA commissioner, he was the FDA chief counsel, came from outside, from the drug company, and started intervening in all of these lawsuits with the preemption brief. And most of the lawsuits back then were thrown out, which basically said even if the drug company wanted to warn, the FDA wouldn't let them because they're the ones that control the labels. And so it's and that same chief counsel eventually left. He eventually left his position, and you know where he went? We helped to expose it in Congress. He left and went to go be the chief legal for Paxil, for GlaxoSmithKline. It was a complete revolving door.
What does the label say now, say for example on Zoloft? Does it have a warning somewhere in there that suicide is something that is a side effect?
Yes. So back when Woody was found in 2003, there were no warnings. And when you look at when the FDA first held hearings in 1991 on the emergence of violence and suicide in Prozac, they did nothing. So now we fast forward. Now it's 2003, and that became our mission, is to get black box suicide warnings, which we did in 2004, and then in 2006 it went up to age 24. But to this day, it stops at 24. And all ages are not warned about this risk, but it is real. I mean, I've met so many families that have been affected, and we all came together to tell our stories, because once you see what has, so here we're talking about withdrawal and all of that today at this summit, but back then it was really about these suicides, and a lot of these people were random suicides that were not depressed. They would say they would be blaming the patient, but like my friend Beth Winters, she and I met the Winters family, their daughter, 7 days on Paxil, and she got it for anxiety because she had a new job, or I don't even know if anxiety, insomnia, kind of like Woody. And then there'd be like my friend Matthew's little 13-year-old daughter, given it because she had test anxiety, and she hung herself on Zoloft from her bedroom, her valance of a 4-poster bed.
Is hanging something that's common from Zoloft, or is it?
I do think it has something to do with that head outside the body.
Is that called derealization?
Yeah, it's one of the depersonalization of that. And so one of the other things that I found when you asked about the documents is the side effect that we're seeing a lot right now called akathisia. That was actually something that, which is this complete neurologic, you want to move, scratch, move it out of your body. That has been known for a long time. Pfizer's chief medical officer, again, for Zoloft, wrote an entire article that is public, but it talked about akathisia, where, quote unquote, if a person gets it, death can be a welcome result. But what wasn't public, and which is one of the documents we got out, is that same chief medical officer wrote to the sales staff of Pfizer and said the attached journal article is not suitable for general practitioners, but maybe for neurobiologically inclined psychiatrists. But the bulk of their business is written by GPs. So they intentionally kept akathisia from doctors, from the patients. So when my husband was telling me his head's outside his body, we had no idea, and his doctor didn't either.
So what, if somebody is legitimately depressed, do you think that there's alternatives? If you could go back in time, what do you think you you could have done that would have helped him?
Yeah, so first, what I would have done back then, I wish we would have, I mean, first of all, he should never have gotten put on Zoloft for insomnia, not sleeping. There's a lot of things we could have done. But even that question about how are you sleep, like what is going on, there's exercise, you're eating, can you do all of that? That was not anything that we talked about at this time back then. And so I think there's a lot of things. I also think that had they actually said that this is an antidepressant, he might have actually said, well, I'm not depressed. But he didn't even have that opportunity because he got it off-label. And how many people get it off-label? Like I think about...
Off-label meaning the generic?
No, off-label that it was never approved for the condition that the person's getting it. So like how many of these people I've known for like test anxiety, they moved from a new city, that is not a condition that was approved to put yourself on a drug.
What about family members that have loved ones that are taking these medications? What signs should they look out for?
Well, first of all, even before they even get put on the drug, I would want to make sure that you know, like have those questions, like should it be the first line of defense, putting somebody on a drug? But if it is, like you should be watching changes of behavior. Like when I saw Woody telling me his head's outside his body, constantly moving, losing weight, that should have been a sign that he was actually having a problem. I also know that right now there's something with personalized where you can go get a PY450 test, which is to see if your body can even handle these drugs. And that's something that's available that we had no idea.
Is it with the regular general practitioner?
Yeah, you could, anybody.
What is it called?
It's called PY450.
And to see if you would have any reactions to these drugs.
Certain drugs, yeah. And they'll give you like a list of like never drugs. And this is for any kind of drug, right? And so I didn't even know that existed. And I don't understand why that isn't like Accutane. When you go get put on Accutane, you have all kinds of requirements that you have to sign, and go get blood tests, etc. And that, because that had suicide associated with it too. So I think there's a lot of things we can do. But I also think, when you first go on a drug, come off, doses change, that is where you have a lot of risks. And then as we heard today, you've got people who don't even know how to get off of these medicines. So I would think that should be one of those conversations that we should be having with our doctor as well, which is if now you've told me everything, if I decide to go this route, what is my off-ramp? Like, because these were, remember, short, tested for 4 to 6, 8 weeks, but people are on them for multiple years. And that's why we have a crisis that we do today.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very powerful. I'm sorry for the loss of your husband, and thank you for continuing to get this information out there. I don't think a lot of people realize how serious it is with the suicide. It really is a problem. Just one question for people that are watching that might be on Zoloft or any of these things. Is it something that suddenly happens when you start taking it? If someone's been on it for years, is it something that could happen years in, or everybody's different? Everybody's body's different. Some, what the warning officially says is when you first go on, off, or dosages change. So even if you've been on it for a long time and you change dosages, that could be another very important time that you need to be aware. Well, thank you so much. How could people follow you in your journey? Oh my gosh, they could follow me on my X at Woody Matters. How do you spell that? WOODYMATTERS. And then I'm also on Instagram as well as KimWitzak.com. Kim Witzak, KimWitzak.com. And then I have an Substack called Acceptable Collateral Damage, because how I've come to see it, technically it really should say unacceptable, but we are really cost of doing business. They know there will always be people that are going to be harmed, and that's just kind of, as I call, that's just the cost of doing business. And I think we need to change the culture within even the companies too, to start seeing us as people and not as numbers. I think that also start holding doctors accountable for not doing their due diligent research and fairly warning patients. They just write a prescription so quickly, and they are the problem too. Absolutely. I think, back when my husband was put on it, they were intentionally kept from the information. But I think now, at this point, there's enough
evidence out there. There's enough stories out there. There's enough patients. You got to listen to your patients. And I think...
And it's up to the doctors, too,
yeah,
to look into it.
Absolutely. I mean, that is, if we gave them the power, meaning that we've blindly trusted them because they're the ones in the white coat that have done all the education, that we do need them to be our partners, because otherwise it's not informed consent.
It really does seem to me like as times have evolved, doctors are more partnered with the hospitals, they're more partnered with the pharmaceutical, and even with the government more so than the patient, and that's a serious problem. Absolutely. And I think that really hit home for me during COVID as I watched everything happen around me.
Absolutely. I think, especially a lot of doctor practices are getting bought out by big corporations. And you know what? Like general practitioners, let's just be really honest. We have 5 minutes with them. And they don't, so this is unacceptable at this point. And they are like, I actually say, I like to call it, patients really are customers. And we become kind of these cradle to grave customers. Because they need patients to go to business.
Yeah, they do. They need sick people, unfortunately, but we have to change that as a culture. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And more to come when we come back. We'll take you to the White House where President Trump and Melania welcomed military moms this Mother's Day week. But first, a reminder to connect with me on social media. I am on X, Vocal Truth, Instagram, and YouTube. And what's not on there, we need to add it. I'm also on Rumble chatting with some of our viewers right now. Good to see all of our viewers watching on Rumble. Again, you can subscribe to my YouTube. Vocal is Mike Lindell's social media platform. I'm there as well. There's all my handles. Give me a follow, and we'll be right back.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% U.S.-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both. And we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase.
First Lady Melania Trump honors military mothers, the soul of our nation, at the White House with President Trump by her side. Melania has been a longtime supporter of America's military and their families. She took the time to address the important role mothers play within America, sharing that mothers build the moral foundation of our families.
I often think about the brave people who make the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. When I went to honor the fallen service members from the 103rd Sustainment Command at Dover Air Force Base last March, I realized that words cannot comfort the all-consuming grief that family members, and mothers in particular, experience. The loss is overwhelming. Although I understand the deep pride these families feel in their loved ones' service to our great republic, I cannot fathom the depth of their sorrow. A mother is awestruck when she welcomes her child into the world. After 9 months, the miracle of life creates a fascinating bond between mother and child. With each breath, day by day, this bond deepens, bringing forth emotions never felt before. Quite frankly, these are emotions understood only by women. Only a mother can carry this type of powerful connection with her child, which is also too profound for words. This is a time of military conflict for America, and whereby we honor our selfless and valiant service members regularly. Today is the day we hold their mothers in the highest regard. It is these military mothers who find themselves alone, awake in their thoughts in the darkest hours of the night. Of course, we must also remember the mothers with a spouse overseas, praying for a safe return so their family can become whole once again.
The celebration brought together mothers from across the nation representing all 6 branches of service. Let's see how the markets are opening today. Looking at opening bell numbers from MarketWatch.com, the Dow, S&P 500, the NASDAQ. The Dow, S&P 500 down just a little bit. NASDAQ up a little at this hour. Huge day yesterday on Wall Street. Massive numbers. Great day for investors. President Trump touting the record-breaking day Wall Street had yesterday. Let's keep that momentum going as we round out the week. In your news to go, a quick glimpse of some headlines. President Trump welcomed the faces of UFC into the Oval Office to promote the White House UFC fight that's taking place this summer. It will happen on the White House lawn with 4,000 people in attendance, and outside the gates, there's going to be a lot of action there as well. A fan zone where thousands will gather to celebrate America and UFC. And it all falls on President Trump's birthday, Sunday, June 14th. The president has paid tribute to Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, who passed away this week, that is. The president putting out this post remembering Ted Turner, saying he was one of the greats of all time, that he just died. He founded CNN, sold it, and was personally devastated by the deal, he says, because the new ownership took CNN, his baby, and destroyed it. It became woke and everything that he is not all about. Maybe the new buyers, wonderful people, will be able to bring it back to its former credibility and glory. Regardless, he says, however, one of the greats of broadcast history and a friend of mine. Whenever I needed him, he was there, always willing to fight for a good cause. Also new this morning, Mayor Rudy Giuliani has been released from a Florida hospital. This is proof that the power of prayer works. The entire world hit our knees praying for Rudy Giuliani. As you know, he was in critical condition with pneumonia. His condition was deteriorating fast. Last rites were given. But he is a fighter, and he overcame it, and he is now recovering at home. Thank you for the prayers. We cannot wait for Mayor Giuliani to fully recover so he can start his show back here on LINDELLTV. It airs weeknights. Never miss it. Rudy also serves on the board at LINDELLTV, a true friend to Mike Lindell, our staff, and so many across the nation. Good news to report there. Looking ahead for today, here's the president's schedule. At 8 o'clock this morning, he held an executive meeting. At 11, he will greet the president of Brazil. Then they will host a bilateral meeting, then a lunch. At 3 o'clock, he will have a policy meeting. At 4, he will sign executive orders. Then at 5 and 6, he hosts more policy meetings. A full day for him. For more coverage, you can always log on to LINDELLTV.com and download the LINDELLTV app. Now to our Bible verse of the day, coming from the book of John. Is this love? Not that we loved God, but he loved us and sent his son to be the propitiation for our sins. We have seen and testified that the Father has sent the Son to be Savior of the world. And also today is the National Day of Prayer. Vice President J.D. Vance is meeting right now with the Pope at the Vatican on this special day. And that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. And we leave you today with sights from Hawaii.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98.